Hello everybody, today we're gonna look at the game of Arjun Erigaisi versus Nojabek Yakuzov. So he had a 97.7 accuracy. So let's see, d4, and he plays this weird move d6, but it's probably a superb. Right now it's looking like a perk, a bit of a sideline. Normally you just develop the knight, but in this case it is useful because Arjun goes for sideline, e5. And now he has the option to play c6, because you don't want to trade in the center, because now you have dominant control of the center, because you have 2 pawns and black has only 1 pawn, so you just want to defend your center. Now Arjun just develops his knight comes out, and he plays this move d5, crazy preparation, and already a wrong move of Notchback. He's already down 13 minutes and it's only move 6. Because now after takes, if you take back, there's a line. So if you would have taken back this pawn with bishop takes, you have knight takes and you lose the bishop, of course. And this knight also gets out of danger. So that's why you have to take this knight, whereafter I can choose between these two, and Arjun chooses this pawn because then he has in the future an idea of also trying to capture this pawn, but Notchback does it first. He has to recapture because otherwise he would lose his rook first. And now the queen takes, and now the knight comes to fork the queen and the bishop, so he's probably gonna lose one. Or is he? Because he gets out with this check to the king, so now the queen is hanging, but the bishop is checking. So the bishop blocks, so if you just move the queen somewhere, I take your bishop, so that's why he grabs the pawn, defending the bishop. So it would be a good move for any other move than the move Notchback played. Try to find the move. It's a logical move, but also not really, because you think it's maybe take, rook b1, no, it's castling, exclamation mark. Because you get your king to safety, you're ready to put your rook on this file, and more important, after you play rook b1, first he could have just taken and it would come with a check. But now, if he takes the bishop, you can just take the queen and be up queen. So he has to take now, and not even taking it back, because the bishop lost control of the square. You have this intermediate check to the king. The king moves, so now the bishop is hanging. And you might ask, the king couldn't move up, because then you had also some other checks, and the computer gives this check. Oh, I'm sorry. Queen takes d7, just defending the knight. But also, after king e2, there's something like this, and it's also completely fine, because it's with a check, and then you can recapture the bishop. This is more of an equal endgame, but it was also possible. But of course, the guys saw this, and they know this is a dominant position for black. So that's why he plays king f1, just getting the king to safety. It does leave the bishop hanging, but after the queen takes, the knight moves out, because you just have to develop your pieces, and this move also defends the bishop. But of course you're not going to take the bishop, because this bishop has moved, and this knight has already moved like 3 or 4 times. And it's also a really strong knight. It's putting pressure around the king, so you don't want to capture the bishop, so just develop the rook. It comes also with a checkmate threat, but of course it's seen, and just puts his bishop here to block the rook from going there. And now, great move, getting the rook to this square, attacking the queen, x-raying the pawn. Because the bishop has moved, it doesn't defend the pawn anymore, so now you want to get in with the other rook. That's exactly what Arjun does. And after the knight moves, attacking the rook slides over one square, attacking the pawn, whereafter it will attack the knight. And now the rook moves to attack the knight, and it's not really a threat, but it just pins the knight, which is annoying. But there isn't a threat to win the knight like. But the queen moves, so if you take, I take your knight, and he drops back, then he just picks up the pawn on the outsides of the board. I think he also could have taken it with queen. It's a bit less good because of just h4, getting the rook out, moving the king over. So that's why he takes with the rook to attack this rook, not threaten the rook. Now he just plays h6, but that just makes it worse, because you can trade off the rook. The king comes to the center to defend this rook, so otherwise it would just hang his rook. So this is the only way, but this does mean that the king is in the center, right in the side of this rook. The bishop is now pinned. This bishop can attack it. This knight can maybe deliver checks. So this is a really bad position. So there goes the knight. You can take it with queen, because then I would just capture it, and your bishop is pinned. You can take it with the bishop because it's pinned, but he does take it with the bishop. Interesting. So now the queen takes, and he takes the rook, because he thought, I'm already worse, so let's just give my queen away for a knight and a rook, because my rook will be active, especially when I double. They can go active along these lines, for example, or they can double up on the 7th rank, and my bishop really keeps my king safe, and my knight can also help with that. But the pawn hangs, the knight is threatened, but the rook comes in, the queen drops one square back, attacking this pawn. You want to take it because you attack the rook, and you make these squares around the king a lot weaker. The knight moves forward, and now the queen doesn't take the pawn. It goes for the pin on the knight, so the king has to come even closer to the center. That's why he played the move to drag out the king. It does attack the bishop, so he plays this move, and after that Dutchback just resigned, because it's just a really bad position, because your king is in the center. There are all kind of threats, the rook, a bishop discovery, moving the bishop back with a check, which after the king has to move back, and he will win the knight. There's nothing you can stop to do. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So that's why he just resigned in this position. And Arjun Erigaisi, the madman, he did it again. If you look at this, it's crazy. He started with a worse opening, 0.5, and then he just got it down to minus 0.2, and then he made a mistake. White made a mistake, and he just kept the advantage the whole game long. It was just a bit of the opening that he was a bit worse. After that, he was never worse. As we see, 97.7% accuracy is crazy. So I hope you all learned something from this game. It was a really interesting game. Nice opening idea of this e5 move sideline, which he already has to think. The knight blocking in the bishop development, but defending the center. And after this move, e5 is just crazy, because it's the top computer move. So it was a prep, you see, because he spent no time. And it's crazy that this can work, because he just played d4, e4, developed the bishop, protected the center, developed his knight, and then all of a sudden there's this equalizing move d5, which looks like all the pawns are hanging, but actually they're not, because there are always counter threats. As we go down the game, this was the mistake. Instead of taking the pawn, he should have played take the bishop, the queen takes the bishop, and then he maybe could have taken the pawn. It's still worse because of castle. No, not because of castle, because of this check again. So he should have taken the bishop, the queen takes, and the top computer move is queen e3, attacking. Not attacking the knight, just pinning it. Now there's this move, queen d3. Right? Oh no, it's queen e3. e3. Yeah, after queen e3, there's this move, queen d3. And after this exchange, we have long castle defending the knight. The rook comes. You're down a pawn, but you have so much activity. So that was the game. I hope you all enjoyed of this 97.7 accuracy game. And I hope I see y'all in the next video.